What's good, YouTube? It's your boy on me. Yeah, man, got the purple dewy on. No shades today, but hey, it's never a cloudy day. But yeah, man, the last time I uploaded was the last Tierzoo reaction. The last Tierzoo video was a Cat's OP, so y'all go check out that video if y'all want to. But I'm gonna try to be more consistent, as the year progresses, closer to the end with this YouTube stuff. Might even stream games or something. But yeah, man, I appreciate y'all for tuning in with me. Hope y'all are safe out here. And without further ado, let's get into it. So for this Tierzoo video, we got our Mongooses OP. My first initial thoughts, I think Mongooses, they're like badgers, right? Like honey badgers, I'm assuming. So yeah, I'm gonna say they're OP just because of how tenacious they are, and yeah. But that's enough talking from me. Let's leave it over to the expert, man. Got a little wine, cool me down after a long day at work. You know what I'm saying?
Cats and dogs are both some of the most overpowered builds in the entire game. But in order to reach that level of success, their player bases needed to try out a ton of different strategies.
Okay.
Both caniforms and feliforms have a powerful solitary tank buster on their roster. They both have mid-sized scavengers on their roster. And perhaps most interestingly, both developed slender generalist builds with an emphasis on digging and brash intimidation. On the caniform side, we have the mustelids, builds like weasels, ferrets, and honey badgers. And on the feliform side, we have the mongoose. Despite being a close relative of cats and sharing a lot of abilities with them, they also have a lot of unique traits that set them apart from every other predator build in the game. So are they actually better than their more traditional feline counterparts? Or are their special abilities just gimmicky jank? Today we'll discuss. We'll begin, as always, with a look at the Mongoose's base stats. Starting off with the Mongoose's intelligence. Mongooses have an intelligence similar to that of a rat, which is to say they're quite clever.
Okay.
Mongooses are generalists and need to be able to think on their feet in a variety of situations in order to succeed. But their best usage of intelligence...
That tactic has always been weird to me, because it's like, even if you act dead, how does the... Well, I guess that would scare off the... Like, make the predator confused, because it's like... Will it not show interest in you, I guess, anymore if you act dead? I don't know.
Is in coordinated team tactics. Team tactics are a rarity in the feliform faction of the mammal player base. But among the small pool of social feliforms, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more tactical bunch.
Oh, they're way smaller than a honey badger. Yeah, that's what I was just about to say, that they look like meerkats.
That specializes specifically in being extra well adapted to work together. But most mongooses are, at the very least, gregarious, and because mongooses are much more vulnerable than builds like the lion or wolf, they need to work together both in order to succeed in hunting and to watch each other's backs and protect each other. Their power stat is pretty mid for a carnivorous mammal, to be honest. Unlike most members of the feliform faction, mongooses do not have retractable claws.
Damn.
They use their claws primarily for digging, which works quite well, but of course inevitably dulls their claws and makes them less useful for dealing damage. As a result, mongooses have to rely solely on their bite force to inflict damage, which is unfortunately nothing special. Still, it's enough to get the job done against low HP targets, which is really all you need as a mid-sized social predator. It just means that
snakes and mongoose gotta be like mortal enemies. Or does a snake probably doesn't even win most of the time, so a mongoose gotta be like the snake's craziest.
They can't really threaten an attacking player and need to cede territory whenever pressured. Now, due to the mongoose's slender shape, you might assume that, similar to honey badgers, stoats, and ferrets, the mongoose sports thick, loose skin that allows it to take reduced damage and avoid critical hits. Unfortunately, mongooses do not have this perk, and need to play a much less reckless game than honey badgers in the face of danger.
Okay.
This lack of thick, loose skin also makes them less resistant to cold damage, forcing them to stick to servers where ice damage isn't a threat. One unique defensive trait they do have, however, is total resistance to venom. Their blood neutralizes most toxins, rendering them almost completely harmless.
So that's why they go against snakes, scorpions, and stuff. That's really crazy how each animal in the animal world have like their own counter. You know what I mean?
Mongoose. This is the main reason their matchup against snakes and scorpions is so oppressive. The mongoose's mobility stat is also fairly mid for a feliform. While certainly quite nimble and agile, its actual run speed is below average for a mammal. Even discounting the cheetah as an outlier, most cats have a movement speed that is well above average, and are excellent climbers. The mongoose can still move much quicker than any reptile it might encounter, but compared to mammalian predators it might face, it is a bit slow. Its slender body and shorter legs do not offer any benefits for speed. Instead, this shape allows mongooses to remain low to the ground, taking advantage of cover more easily and also enabling it to access the tight spaces and burrows that its main
you can
threats
dig
cannot
though.
follow them into.
Okay. So
Other
they're
than
pretty
their short
smart.
stature, mongooses don't really have any major stealth-based abilities that they use, so their stealth stat is only average as well. Perception-wise, the mongoose is truly one of the most unique builds in the game. If you watched my last video, you'll remember that I spoke at length how important the house cat's snake-like vertical slit pupil is for ensuring high accuracy on its attacks, which enables the cat to parry and counterattack incredibly effectively. Even
Golden
if they
parry.
don't have vertical slit pupils, most
Y'all go watch my cat video too.
predators will at least have circular pupils that will allow for optimal forward binocular vision. Mongooses have horizontal pupils. Horizontal pupils do not enhance depth perception and attack accuracy. Instead, the purpose of a horizontal pupil is to broaden the player's field of view, making it easier to detect incoming attacks from the side or from behind. In addition to this unconventional eye structure, mongooses also have an excellent sense of smell and hearing. So how well do these stats and abilities synergize with each other? Honestly, it's a pretty mixed bag. Because the mongoose's stats are generally a bit on the low side, they're not able to outrun or repel attackers. Instead, they have to rely on their digging ability for safety. This greatly limits the potential territory they can explore, as if they get too far from their burrows, it's unlikely they'd be able to escape an ambush. It also means that any player with the ability to pursue them into their burrow
That's
completely
crazy.
negates their main line of defense. The mongoose's eyesight is truly a confounding inclusion in an otherwise fairly standard mesopredator game plan. Now, credit where it's due, horizontal pupils do offer some extra benefits that synergize well with the mongoose's game plan. They offer a slight perception bonus in bright sunlight conditions compared to vertical or round pupils. Because mongooses are diurnal, in direct sunlight, the tan dirt of the African savanna could impede their vision if they didn't have a way to mitigate it. But ultimately, plenty of savanna builds make do without this, so I have to assume the real purpose of this ability is the expanded field of view, which primarily aids in avoiding ambushes. This reflects a higher than normal vulnerability to attacks from predators, which I consider the mark of a less than excellent build if I were to stop things here. But I do think this does have one more important synergy for the mongoose's playstyle. The expanded field of view allows the mongoose to more easily keep track of where its teammates are.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm not really talking, but when I watch these videos, I'm really trying to understand, I'm really trying to learn, so forgive me if I'm not talking too much during the reaction.
Improving its ability to coordinate with the movements of other mongooses. This is reflected in its exceptional unity and fluidity at which the mongoose teams
Strength
function.
in numbers,
While
man.
plenty of other builds engage in team strategies, mongooses are unique in how tight a formation they're able to hold to. This is surprisingly useful for intimidation, as when the mongoose band moves in such tight formation, they appear as just one mass, which can easily confuse and startle large predators long enough to make an escape.
Common
So, how does
cheetah. The
mongoose
cheetah
fare
gets so
in its
much
most
shade.
important matchups? Even deciding which matchups to include was difficult given how widespread the mongoose player base is. But I'll keep things broad enough that it should be applicable to mongoose mains everywhere. Mongooses famously have an overwhelmingly positive matchup against snakes due to their venom immunity.
Venom
This is
resistance.
more important than it first seems. Obviously, it's good to be able to score easy kills and feed the troop, but snakes are also normally the biggest threat to burrowing builds, as they can easily slither into tight
slither
spaces
in
and
there.
wreak havoc. Burrowing builds that don't possess venom immunity, like prairie dogs, have huge difficulty dealing with snakes, so being able to turn this vulnerability into a strength plays hugely in the mongoose's favor. Against larger predators, mongooses do struggle. They're the main reason they need to remain close enough to their burrows and party members, as without them to aid in escaping attacks, they cannot defend themselves. So against big cats, dogs, hyenas, and the like, the mongoose player needs to take advantage of all of its
Yeah,
outs
no
and
1v1s
work with its teammates
against
to avoid disaster. Skilled players can hold their own in this matchup, but mistakes will be punished hard. Warthogs are one of the most surprising encounters a Mongoose can have.
Warthogs?
Rather than being adversarial, Warthog and Mongoose players often form temporary alliances.
Really?
The Mongoose team will cleanse the Warthog player of all parasite debuffs, and in return, well, the Warthog won't really deliberately do anything to help out the Mongoose, but simply by tolerating them in close proximity, the Warthog is protecting them. Because they're extremely dangerous and normally very territorial, Mongooses are much safer when Warthogs are nearby, and can venture further from their burrows so long as they remain within the line of sight of a Warthog. Birds of prey are one of the most dangerous matchups for Mongooses. Because their perception stat tends to be extremely high, they will often target you before you spotted them, leaving very little time to prepare defense or escape.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, since their view is like, pupils are horizontal, they can't really, like, a bird can really just swoop, like, it's not like slit, so you can't, I don't know if I'm making sense, but they can't, like, look up as well, so it's easier for a bird to just swoop down on it.
However, because their power stat tends to be a bit lower, often there is a bit of time between the initial strike and the actual kill, meaning that if your team can rally quick enough, they may actually be able to save you from an attack. So once again, while technically quite a difficult matchup, skilled players with reliable teammates should be able to hold their own. Drawing comparisons to similarly sized solo builds like the Weasel and Ferret, their matchup against an avian attacker is a lot more hopeless. This is essentially the story of the Mongoose. Overall, it has an unimpressive set of stats and abilities, but because the abilities it does have are primarily focused on enabling team strategies, a troop of skilled Mongoose mains can often be far more successful than you would.
Hey, you get about, that's like in a multiplayer game, right? You know, none of y'all are the best solo players, but the group, that's like you running squads Fortnite. You might not win a solo game, but when you with a squad and you know how to communicate and use tactics, might be like 5 dubs in a row, you know what I'm saying? I don't play Fortnite anymore. I'm a little too old for that, but just a comparison.
Expect from such an underwhelming build. Overall, I'm gonna have to give the Mongoose a mid-tier rating. It has no severe flaws holding it back, but imagine how overpowered a clan of Mongoose players would be if it actually had any busted abilities.
That's true.
With the Mongoose, when a group of individuals functions as one unified, cohesive team, it can look pretty impressive and can be a spectacle to watch. However, one thing that may be even more fun to watch is when one player on a team is trying to subtly sabotage the group's efforts. I was recently on a hilarious game show with this exact premise.
I knew it. I knew it. Okay, but that's cool. That's it. So yeah, B tier. I don't think that's too bad for Mongooses. Yeah, that's solid. They're not as big as honey badgers and stuff, so they can't really rely on, you know, their fur, their dense fur, or anything like that. But overall, pretty good. But shout out Tierzoo for another great video, man. He hits every time. But like I said, I'm gonna try to be more consistent with my videos coming up this month, and I hope y'all enjoy. So check my other ones out, and y'all stay safe, man. I'm out.
Hey, making it flip like I'm doing gymnastics, making it flip like I do acrobatic. I'm money fanatic, my life is fantastic, making it stretch like I'm Mr. Fantastic. She hop on the carpet, Aladdin, my flow need a padding. I'm never subtracting, I get to the money, that's